it is time for my fifth and final installment in my trilogy on how to get good audio quality in your action camera videos. So if you haven't seen the other ones, check them out. I'll put a link to them up. I think I'll put it right here. And down below, and probably any place else I can think of. This final tip is about audio and video, and it's specific to YouTube. So the short version is this: you can save your video in a lot of different formats. YouTube has a web page where they tell you what format they handle best. I'll put a link to it down below. If you save it in the format that they ask you to, you'll get better audio and video quality once it's uploaded to YouTube. And even if you do that, you'll notice that your video on YouTube does not look as good as the video on your computer. The difference in quality between the uploaded version and your version will be a lot smaller if you use the format that YouTube talks about on that web page. I found that when I upload the video to YouTube, I lose a lot of high frequencies. So when I save it locally on the computer, I turn the high frequencies way up. Sounds terrible on the computer, sounds okay on YouTube. So that's the short version. It's worth knowing more than that, because things are going to change. Video formats and video quality and how video works the best is changing. Very good reason for that. And the root of it all that it really helps to understand is this: the internet is not fast enough to handle video. Let me explain exactly what I mean by that. Do this little exercise, or just take my word for it. Take your browser to some web page that measures your internet speed. There's a lot of them out there. Find out how many megabytes per second you can download. Now do this. Calculate what high def takes in megabytes per second. Now, how do you do that? It's real simple. High def, 1080p, is 1920 by 1080 pixels per frame. So you can multiply that number out, you'll get number of pixels. Now you want to multiply that number by 3, because each pixel takes 3 bytes, or 24 bits, it's often called. Now, we're talking megabytes, so divide that by 1,000,000. Now multiply that number by 30, because you're doing 30 frames per second. Now see, the last number we had was megabytes, so now you've got how many megabytes per second. That's a big honking number. Take a look at the number you got when you measured your internet speed. There's no way you can play video over that much bandwidth. Yet, here's YouTube playing video, streaming video over the internet. How can we do this? And the answer is pretty simple. It's called compression. So here's the deal, right? Here's how it works. The video is compressed, and then the compressed video is much smaller. It takes up many less megabytes per second, and it arrives on your desktop, your computer, and it's decompressed, and you can handle that, and that works. But when you compress and decompress data, like software, it has to come out exactly the same as it went in, or it won't install, it won't work. There'll be an error with it. Video is different. It turns out if you accept small differences between what's compressed and what's decompressed, you can compress it a lot more. Compression schemes are called codecs. Another thing to know about video codecs is that they can take forever to compress. It's alright if it takes hours. If you've played around with different codecs, you'll notice that some don't take very long to save, and some can take hours. Decoding can also take a long time if you use a certain kind of a codec. But it can't for YouTube, it can't for streaming. So if you decide you're going to save your video in some format that you like, it may not stream very well. I don't know the details, by the looks of things, YouTube takes every video that's uploaded. It can handle any codec you throw at it. It decodes it, and then, which is lossy, remember, and then it re-encodes it in a format that it can use, that it needs. It meets YouTube's requirements for decoding and for playback. So when you upload a video, it gets another loss of encoding, decoding. What codec YouTube likes is going to keep changing. And why is that? Well, like I said, it has to decode in real time. What does that mean? It has to decode in real time. It has to decode fast. Well, what's fast? Fast depends on the CPU you're using. Oh, the decoding is done by your Intel or AMD CPU. Who in the class here can tell me one thing that's happening with CPUs over time? Yes, that's right, they're getting faster. So as CPUs get faster, we can use a different decoding scheme. A decoding scheme that has less loss. We rely more and more on the CPU and less on this network bandwidth. But what's happening to the network bandwidth over time? It's getting faster and faster. So as we get faster CPUs and faster networks, different codecs are going to make sense. So YouTube's quandary they have, let's go a step farther with CPU speed. What's the speed of CPUs out there? Well, duh, they're all over the map. Poor YouTube has to work with the lowest common denominator. They probably, if I had to read their minds, they have a certain clock speed or chip from Intel in mind. That's their low watermark. If you got something slower than that, you're not going to have as good a viewing experience. And they probably revisit that periodically and go, okay, we're going to choose a new encoding scheme that gives better video quality, and it's not going to run so well on your CPU. One day you'll be using YouTube with your old CPU and it'll run like crap because YouTube changed their encoding scheme and presumed you had a little higher end processor. You can't drag us down forever if you got an old CPU. When that happens, they may change the format that they want you to save the video in. And then you'll be wondering, why is YouTube making all these crazy changes? Well, that's why. It's called technology. It's times they are a-changing. So that's it. That's the anatomy of video going over the internet. So at least when you hear people talk about all this stuff, I notice I haven't gotten into specifics. I'm just talking general principles. Hope it helps you out too. Helps you get better audio and video quality of your YouTube playback, and helps you to deal with change as it occurs because you understand what's going on under the hood. So that's it for my series in getting good audio quality in your YouTube video uploads on an action camera. So I'll think of something else to vlog about. Don't worry, I always come up with something. So until next time, I'll see you out there on two wheels.